Hi everybody, it's Tommy Jo from Bird Street Studio. And I got up this morning and I thought I would go ahead and try to bind this journal. I'm not sure if I ever did a binding on camera before. I can't remember. I thought I would show you. I was like in the middle of doing it and I thought, well, I should just turn on the camera. So I think I'll just recap what I've already done and show you. So this journal, this is the outside cover. I went ahead and put book corners on it. This is the inside. And basically what it's made of is Amazon packaging, so it's a very soft cover here. But I did put a piece of cardboard in here to make the spine firm. So even though it is a soft cover, it does have a nice firm spine. Excuse me. So this journal has 3 signatures. There's 1, 2, and 3. And I'm working from the back forward when I bind it. So what I've done so far is I went ahead and took my first signature and I lined up the pages, excuse me, and made sure that I had them tight here in the spine. And I used these clips and to hold them so that when I poke my holes, I'm going through the fold of all the pages. And then I had to measure where this is going to be. So I took, actually, this is the book that I keep beside me when I glue things. So I had a page and I cut it to fit inside the stitching of this spine. Oh, and I was going to say what I did, how I put the cover together was I actually took my outside cover material and my inside and I put them together, and then I put the packaging on top and I sewed 3 sides. Then I flipped it inside out and tucked. I can't remember which side it was that I tucked, but then I just tucked the edges in one side and then I sewed around twice. And I did sew on either sides of the cardboard. So I just felt where the cardboard was and put my pins and I sewed on either side. It's not real straight, but at least it holds that cardboard in place for me. Then I took one of these pages from the glue book and I made it as wide as my stitching here. And I cut it about the same height as the book, the journal. And then I marked it because I thought, I always do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, but I thought, well, maybe I'll do a 5. But I need to see how this, see, these lines right here are going to be too far out. I marked, I think you can see my pencil marks here. Okay. I folded it in half, found the center, and then made pencil marks. But because my journal sits inside the cover, making these 2 inches apart will not work because that makes the top and the bottom line way too close to the top and the bottom of the journal. It needs to be in a little bit closer. So what I'm going to do is erase these, which were 2 inches apart, okay? And I want to make them maybe 1.5. Let's try that. So from the center, I go 1.5 inches, and then again 1.5. Okay, and then at 3 inches, I should have done that here, duh. And at 3 inches, then I will just mark, draw my line here and see how that works. If I center this. So here are my, these are the lines that count right here. I didn't mark those yet. Let's hold this up. That'll be, I think that'll be perfect. So that'll put a hole here, a hole here. Here's my center. And then do, so 1.5 inches works. So I'm going to go ahead and mark these. Oops, that's 1 3/4. Duh. Did I do 1.5 inches here? Yes, I did. And then at 3. And do the same here. And do 1.5 inches. And at 3. We'll go ahead and draw our lines, our new lines. Okay, so that tells me now where they're going to be, like this way. Now I have 3 signatures, so I want to kind of space them out. So what I want to do is fold this in half this way, find my center, and that's where I'm going to draw my line, right there on the center. Okay, and then I need to have something in between these two and something in between these two. So if I look at that, it's 1.25 inches. So I need to go a half and then like 1/8, maybe. Yeah. Let me see, a half and 1/8, which is 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5/8. So I need to go 5/8 in. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5/8. So that would be there. Let's do one down here. 5/8. I better do one way at the top just to make sure I can connect those, okay? And 5/8 right there. And then I'll go ahead and try and draw that line. So it should be at 5/8 all the way down. We'll see if it looks straight. Give or take, sort of. I better do it this way where I can actually see it. And there. Okay, so now we've got this line, and now we need to go 5/8 inch the other side. And this, getting these is kind of important because you're going to use this template to make your holes in your cover and your holes in your signature, and they need to line up. So they need to be pretty accurate, and you don't want a signature to go cattywampus kind of like this, because then when you put the next one in, the bottom's going to hit. It won't be evenly spaced apart. So you do want to be, anybody that's done this before knows this, but for beginners, you do want to be pretty accurate with your lines. So we've got 4 5/8 here. 5/8 right here. And 5/8 right here. Okay, and again, I'm going to have this facing me so I can see these lines. Okay, so what's going to happen is right here where they cross, that's where I'm going to make my holes. And I have 3 signatures, so I will have 1, 2, 3. Okay, mark the same here. So those are our markings. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make our holes on our cover. And I have this, it's just a bunch of papers that I've taped together. And I use that. And awl, my awl, okay? And I'm going to hold this. What I did is I have to hold it right against the stitching on the left and right. So I've got it right near my stitching. And equidistance top and bottom. So then I want to make my holes right on those X's. Sometimes it's hard to see these holes in the material, but you can feel them where you push the material through. And then I will sew these with a waxed thread. I had a fairly thick thread, and I bought this kind of thinner thread, and I thought I would try the thinner. And we'll see how that works. It feels very, very sturdy, so I'm not concerned about that. What I haven't decided yet, though, is where I'm going to start this. Because usually if you have a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, you can start right in the center. So I don't know if I can start in the center and end up back in the center. I have to think about it for a second. If I start on the inside, yep, I just want to make sure it's going all the way through. Yep. Okay, so so I can see my holes right here. Sort of. The black ones are hard to see, but I can tell they're there. So if I start on the inside and I go in, out, in, so if I go, so actually I'm going out, coming in, going out, coming in, going out, coming in, going out, coming in, then I would tie them right there. I want to come in the same one, so maybe I'll skip the center. So if I go out, in, skip, out, in, out, and in. So I'll skip the center when I come back down, and that way I'll come back in the center going back up. Okay, that'll work, I think, if I remember that. So skip the center. Maybe I'll write that. So this will be my top. And this is important because if you're off at all and you turn your signatures or something, they won't line up. So always mark your top. And I'm going to put on here just a note, skip center. Skip center. Okay. So the next thing I did is I have a book cradle. And this book cradle is real lightweight. It looks heavy, but it's very lightweight. I think they make it with a 3D printer. Anyways, it's Amy from Crafty Cat USA. Her husband, she or her husband makes them at one time. Excuse me. I was told her husband did it, but I'm not sure exactly. So I can go ahead and move my cover for just a second. And I want to poke my holes in my signature. So I want to put my signature in here. And these right here, clips, are interrupting with it going all the way. So I need to move those out a little bit. So that being said, I want to hold this together and move this out. If they hinder the book in the cradle, then your holes won't be straight. So it's best that they don't. Okay. So then I put it right in the cradle. I think you can see this. I got to stand up to do it. And the easiest way for me is to take my template and just look at the top. So here's the top of my signature is going in here. And I want the top of my paper to go in there. And then when you hold it in there, it is, because your cover is larger, this hangs out. So what's real important is that you kind of center this and you make a line where the top of your book is. Okay? That's all you need to do, is make sure that every signature, this is sitting with that line right at the top. Then I can take my awl, and where my lines go across, I can go ahead and make my holes. So I'm making a hole there, a hole there, and a hole there. Okay, so now when I take this out, I think you can see that there's a hole right here. There's a hole right here. Our center hole, it's hard to see, but it's in there. Okay. But I can definitely see them on the outside. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now I want to select a needle. And I like to work with as thin of a needle as I can so it doesn't poke too big of a hole. Some people use a blunt-ended needle. Mine are semi-blunt. Okay, and then for this, I'm going to turn my journal sideways. And the rule of thumb with most journalists, journal makers, is that you will measure your string to be 3 times the length of your journal, which is 1, 2, 3. I do 2.5. Unless I'm going to dangle something from the end of it, I do 2.5. I normally take my strings and just tie a bow in the middle. What I found was when I first started, I was wasting string. 1, 2, and I do about 1/2, so I'll go just a little bit past the center. But on every journal, I'm saving that much string, or every signature. So that's quite a bit to lose, okay? And then I'm going to cut that. I don't know what that is. I've got something in my throat. Okay, and then I want to measure, because I have 3 signatures, I need 3 of those. So I need to measure 3 times here. Whoops. Hello, Tommy. This string feels really sturdy, but it's so much thinner than the other one It's almost like I can't feel it in my hand. There's 2. And 3. And I have like my string and everything I get from Amazon, and I'll have the links in my description box. Okay. So then we want to thread our needle. Okay. And again, I've never done a 5-hole before, so this is all new to me. So I want to get my cover, and I want to, this cover material is kind of, let me put this down, is kind of different. It's got the letters, these letters are like backwards, and these are upside down, but the main writing part, which is not really writing, it almost like somebody made this like an AI kind of design. It's typical of what AI produces. And there's like nothing in between these words. They don't make any sense, but they're right side up. So I want to make sure that my cover is right side up with this writing. I'm not concerned about this because this is right side up. And this is right side up, but backwards. It's like, but anyways, this is the top. This is the top of my journal. And then I'm working from the back forward because this is the 3rd signature. So what I want to do is take my needle, and I want to go through the center hole. I need to find my center right here. Okay. And I want to find my center on my cover, which I think 1, this is so funny. There's one there. 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Gets right here. Yep. And I want to go through there. Now, this is pretty heavy, a pretty heavy cover. Okay. So now, using that same row, I want to go up or down and find my hole. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then I'm finding the corresponding hole in my journal right here. Trying to keep it fairly flat because that's what allows it to go straight through the pages. Okay, on the fold, and I pull it. And like I said, this is a little tough to pull. And I want to go back down through this hole here and find that on my, I think that hole is right there. That's what it feels like. This material's a little hard to see, but that's okay. Can kind of feel it. Let me see. So I pulled that out through the center. Let's try this again. We're going to go down through the center and find our hole and take that through. We want to leave a tail on the inside. Okay. Then we want to find the next hole going in, and we want to line that up with the hole in our journal. There. We want to go ahead and pull that through, leaving this tail. See, now with a 5-hole stitch, I don't know if I should have maybe made this a full three times the journal size. I don't know. Now we want to find our other so funny, I can't even feel that hole. Usually you can just feel it. Oh, there it is. And pull it through. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to come back up through this hole. This is hard to do on, I'm going back up through here, and I don't want to pierce the thread going back in that hole. No, honey. Do you want to go out? There's a window right over here, and there's somebody in the backyard. So he's now over here looking out the window, barking. Okay. And remember, I want to skip the center. And so we want to go down to the next hole here. And out here. Then I want to go back up, and I saw the hole in the inside right here. But I can't see it on the outside, so if that ever really becomes a problem, you can always just stick your awl through there and see where your awl is coming out, and that will line up your hole. So then take your needle and put it right there. Then you can pull your awl out, and that kind of shows you where the hole is. Okay, there, perfect. And then we want to go back through this hole in the journal. Not back through, we haven't been through it yet. Want to take it into there. And again, you want to go straight in because you want, excuse me, you want this to go into the center. There we go. Okay. Oh, this is going to be tight. I might have needed to go 3 strands. Let's see. Maybe not. Okay. And then I want to go back down through this hole. And I want to come back up where this string is. So I want to go back down this hole without piercing the string. Because you're not going to be, if you pierce the string, you're not able to tighten, excuse me, the strings. And then I want to go back up this one. Okay. So I'm looking in here to make sure that I'm coming through the right hole. It's kind of hard to see because I've got it pulled pretty tight. Okay, so I'm here's my needle. Okay, and now I'm back through here. Okay, and the one thing you want to do is make sure that one of your strings is on one side of this center string and one is on the other. So when you're tying your knot, you're tying it around this string. Then you want to go ahead and pull tight, and you want to make sure that your strings are all pulled tight back here. Now I'm feeling this one feels kind of loose. So I want to make sure that they're nice and tight. Okay, they feel pretty tight. So you just pull them tight, and then we're going to tie a knot. And then I tie a double knot. And then I just try to tie a little bow right here in the center with the leftover. Excuse me. There. Okay. Then we can take our clips off. And we've got our first signature sewn in right here. So our first signature's in. Opens nice. Okay, we like it. Okay, so then we want to go ahead and thread our needle with our second thread, so we don't lose that, because I tend to misplace my needles, and that's not good in here because my puppies are in here. So if I misplace it and then I don't pay attention, I could end up, you know, knocking it onto the floor. So I have to be extremely careful. Okay, so my thread is in, my needle is threaded, my threadle is needed. Now I want to get my next signature, which is going to be my center signature, the middle signature. And I want to go through and line up all my pages. Make sure that they're even top and bottom. Now all my pages are not even, but as long as they're in the center, that's what I'm really looking for. And remember, we had to move our clips out, so I'm going to put this clip out pretty far. Okay, and then if I push this in and I do the bottom, opposite bottom down here, make sure it's pushed all the way in. I want my centers all in there together right here. Put my clip out a ways here, and then we'll do the last one, which is this top one. So you want to make sure that I'm pushing my paper in towards the center like that. Then we'll clip. Okay, then we need to get our cradle again and our template. And we're going to set our journal. We want to make sure that we've got it face up. I always do them to the left. It's just my preference. Stand up. We want to take our template, put it in our cradle, and make sure that our top lines here match the top of our journal. when we set it in there. Then we can go ahead and poke our holes based on the lines we have drawn here. And why it's important that we use this template and that we're as accurate as we can be is because we poked the holes in our cover based on this template. So we want our holes in our signatures to match those holes. Let's move this aside. Pull our journal back over. Now we're doing the second signature in like this. Okay. So we want to take our needle and thread and find our center hole. Okay, right here. It's our center. And we want to find our center hole in our journal, which where is it? This is one where I may need to use my awl. And if you're not sure, guess what? You can always put your template down, right? Okay, it feels like it should be right there. There it is. I could feel it once I was like kind of just poking a little bit. Okay, there. So then we'll take our signature. We want to make sure we still have it face up. Want to put our needle right through there. Remember, we want to leave a tail. Find our next hole. It's so funny because I can feel it on the inside. But again, if we're not sure, I can feel it, but oh, it's right there. Holy mackerel, this went right in. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, that went in so easy. Then we want to go in our signature in that hole. Then we want to go out the top hole and then out the top hole of our cover. Okay. Then we want to go back in the second hole without piercing our thread. Puppy's getting excited out there. Okay. We want to skip the center and go out this bottom or fourth hole and through the cover. Why, that lined right up. How nice was that? See it? There it is. And go in the bottom hole of our signature. There we go. Okay. Now I want to go back down through this the fourth hole, like 1, 2, yeah, 1, 2, 3, fourth hole, and out my cover. I don't know how much of this you can see because I've got it I want to go out that hole, and it's in the right hole, but it's not coming out the cover material, so I want to pull it back just a hair to get it to go through the same space in my outer cover material. Go. Okay. Come through. And then we want to go down through our center right here. There we go. Perfect. That one a little easier. Okay, so then we want to make sure that we're on either side of our center string. Here's our center string. Let me bring it up a little bit. So here's the center string right here. We need to make sure that they're all tight and that one of these is on one side and one is on the other, and then we'll tie it over the top of that string. So we want to pull tight. Okay, and I'm feeling like this is a little loose, so let's see where we could tighten that a little bit. There and there. Perfect. Now I want to just check the outside, make sure that it's nice and tight on the outside, and it is. So then I can tie my knot. Again, we'll make a double knot. And then we'll try to tie it in a little bow. Perfect. Okay, so we've got 2 signatures in. So the next one, I'm just going to speed it up and not talk, and we'll try to get that one in so this video isn't like hours long. So I'm going to just speed everything up from this point forward until I'm done sewing it in, and then we'll see how it looks in the end. Okay, here's an example of what I wanted to show you. I was trying to pull this tight, and I noticed that way back here, I actually pierced the thread. So I'm going to pull this out, and right here, I'm going to lift this up. You can see that this thread is pierced the other thread, okay? I don't know if you can see that. So I want to pull those apart, okay? I want to pull that. I must have caught a little tiny part of that string. And you don't want that because that won't tighten. So you do need, it is important that you take it out. So let's go from here. Okay, so that's our journal. It's all bound in, so you see the 3 signatures in there. They're evenly spaced apart. It's kind of a biggie, so when I put the tie around it though, it will hold it closed. I've got a few finishing touches on this journal to do, and then I think the next video I'll do a flip through of it. I just love it. So I think it looks pretty good for my first time doing a 5-hole stitch. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye everybody. Have a great day.